Hello, I'm Christopher Bayliss from Intergage FastGrowth. Today we're focusing on the workbook that you've downloaded called Involve Your People in Your Company Purpose, Goal and FastGrowth Plan. We're at C&O Blandford, C&O Tractors that is, of Blandford, and with me is Helen Connell. Welcome, Helen.
Thank you.
Helen is the Senior Executive Assistant for C&O Tractors. C&O Tractors turns over about a 40 million pounds turnover, and Helen has been very much involved with organising conferences with the whole staff to involve people, and does it very well.
Yes, thank you.
And that's why I've asked you to come along today. On this particular video, we're going to look at why involving your people is so important if you want to grow your business fast. And secondly, I'm going to share with you 3 specific tips or hints on how to make the most of this workbook so that you do fully involve your people. I'd like to start with a story of a large company that did this and the results that they achieved. The company I'm focusing on, and I'll say it slowly, is Renault,
Yeah.
the car company, French company. But I'm focusing primarily on Renault UK. Renault in UK have about 220 dealers in this country, mainly franchise dealers, independent of Renault.
Yeah.
And in the late 1980s, their sales or market share had fallen in the UK from 5% to just over 3%, and they were very concerned about this. So they asked us at FastGrowth Services, or the previous company, to help them, particularly with their dealers, to the dealerships that is, to improve the performance and sales of their cars and vans, and which we did. And we worked with all 220 dealers. A typical dealer is about 30 people with a dealer principal, the MD, and their teams. And what we did, we helped each team at each dealership to create a fast growth plan or growth plan. And then we encouraged the dealer principals to present this plan to their people in the evening, typically 30 people in a hotel, to involve them in the plan, to action the plan. Why? Because what they wanted was high commitment to the plan, and I have a sort of very simple equation, which is commitment comes from involvement. So you don't tell people, you involve them, and that way you get commitment. Helen, the results were astonishing. Hard to believe. Bear in mind it was the last deep recession, and Renault were up against Vauxhall, Ford, Volkswagen. Very competitive, very tough market. Yes, they did have some new cars that came along, like the Clio, the Laguna and the Megane during that period, which did help, but so did other parts of Renault. This was the centerpiece of this growth strategy. And these are nationally recorded results. These are not me talking, this is results. In that 3-year period, they increased their market share in the UK, which is about 2 million vehicles, from 3.1% to 9.3%, which is a triple the sales. And more importantly, the dealers increased their profitability on new cars from 0.9%, it's a bit like C&O Tractors, you don't make a lot of money on new vehicles, from 0.9% to 2.3%, which is BMW levels of profitability. At an average landed price of £5,000 per car and van from Renault France into UK, £5,000, that increase was worth £1,800 million to Renault.
Really?
In 3 years. They were so delighted with the results that they flew, my wife, Daphne, and I, to Silverstone for the Grand Prix, the British Grand Prix, in July 1992. And it was very exciting because that was the year that Nigel Mansell won the race in front of the home crowd, went on to win the championship driving a Williams Renault. And I have a picture here of a print of a picture of Nigel ahead of Alan Prost in the Honda McLaren car, and coming around the corner there on his way to victory. So that was
Really good. Yeah.
it's fantastic. And they said it's because of the involvement of their people.
Yeah.
Very important. So Helen, what I'd like to do now is to go through 3 hints on using this particular workbook.
Okay.
Okay? The purpose of this workbook is to show you how you can plan to involve your people, whether it's in health and safety, whether it's your fast growth plan, whatever. And as a result of high involvement in these things, you get strong commitment. Like what I said, involvement, commitment, very much linked. I want to start with this on page 3 of the workbook is this diagram. Can you just read what it says here, starting with sort of C, just read at the top and bottom, etc.
All doing an adequate job at the top, at the bottom, but often in different directions.
Okay, that's like sort of situation C. Situation B.
It's some company direction, and then but individuals not aligned to this direction. So
that's better than that, in the sense there is some direction, but alignment. And A.
Clear, strong, shared company purpose, goal and principles. All your people committed to the purpose and goal.
And that's a bit like Oxford and Cambridge when they're racing in March, all pulling together. And when they get out, and then the bar afterwards is like that, isn't it? Okay?
Yeah.
And when you're using this workbook, have a think about where you think your company currently is. I'd like you to be honest and objective, but also fair. Think about where you are. And then maybe use this again, ask your team. And what's the purpose in doing this? What's the end goal?
A growing, profitable and secure future.
A growing, profitable and secure future. That's what we all want. Okay, 3 tips, 3 hints on using this particular workbook. First hint is how to communicate when you organise your involvement meeting, and there's a plan at the end of the workbook on how a typical agenda, which we used, I think you used for the safety conference, that, well, we want to achieve our goal, we want to present stuff, and this applies whether you're presenting stuff like we did at the you did at the safety conference, or whether you're even talking one-on-one, is that we convey information through words, be it the spoken word, like I'm using now, or the written word, which is on there. And the important thing there is to use powerful adjectives so that the receiver hears the power. I have a dream, said Martin Luther King. They can really hear the power of that. But the real purpose of the words, though, is to create pictures in people's minds. What's the picture you're creating? So paint vivid pictures, word pictures, so they see the picture.
Yeah.
So words, pictures and heads, but most importantly here at the heart or in the guts, whichever you prefer, is down here. Feelings, feelings. So use tone and gesture, create the feelings, feel the emotion. And you made safety, I came to that particular conference, you made safety really exciting, didn't you?
Yes, we did, yeah.
Okay?
Yes.
And then finally the action, explain the action required and to trigger the desire to act. So that's a very useful visual for all the readers to use to get the most out of this workbook. So that's hint number 1. Hint number 2 is quite a lot of pictures in this one, but it is important, is when you're explaining to people, you've got 3 choices. You can just tell people what to do. And there's a place for it, telling people. It tends to be short, time scale, but low commitment.
Yeah.
If this building catches fire and you know your way around, you say, Christopher, if you want to live, follow me. All right? With or without, I will follow you. Okay? You don't need to be strongly committed to it. Here, it takes longer, is present stuff and then improve it. It takes longer, but you increase the commitment. Sometimes, though, you've actually got to go right back to basics and sort of create it with them.
Yes.
And sort of things you've done in your management team. That takes a lot longer, but you tend to have much longer better results, higher commitment. Make sense? So that's hint number 2. Think about what you want to communicate and where you need to be on that continuum. And then finally, at the back of the workbook on page 44 is a very simple little agenda, which I've used a number of times with Renault and other companies. And that's a 2-hour agenda. You can do it in the evening, in the afternoon, in the morning. I think your conferences tend to be in the evenings, early evenings.
Yeah.
And can you see that that's basically what we did? We did something, had a little break, did something. Very useful, very simple. And preparation beforehand. I know you've done a lot with briefing people. So really good stuff. Some of you may be thinking, well, have I got the nerve to do this? Because standing up in front of the company, if you're the MD, can be unnerving, can't you?
Yes,
can't it?
It's not easy.
And what was your recommendation to people like that?
You just prepare beforehand.
Yeah.
And practice it.
Practice it.
Yeah.
And do it.
Yeah.
Take courage.
Yes.
And then book a date in the diary.
And just get on with it.
Get on with it!
Okay.
Thank you so much for your
That's
time.
all right, pleasure.
And good luck with all your plans.
Thank you very much.
Real pleasure.
Yeah.
Oh, great. Yeah, it was nice working with you.
Yeah.
You're such a lovely person to work with.
Thank you.
Good, wasn't it? Piece of cake, isn't it?